Hello and welcome back to My Bolty UV. I am Jim and we're going from point A to point B. Climb in. Let's go. Today the video will tackle a few issues that we've already covered before, but I'm going to go into more detail and be as gentle as possible with the execution of the information. A kinder and gentler approach, so to speak. The problems that we EV owners are facing have become increasingly hostile, and it's primarily coming from the ICE vehicle coalitions and big oil. So let's talk about this just a little bit. The problem with our internal combustion engine friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. Proponents of ICE vehicles and burning carbon-based fuels are good at spreading misinformation, creating fear, causing uncertainty among car owners, initiating doubt, and in some cases telling outright lies. Countering the spread of this type of information is one of the core purposes of My Bolty EV. So let's reiterate those core purposes. Number one, to educate Bolt EV and Bolt EUV owners about their car. Number two, to help electric car owners in general understand the nuances of EV ownership and operation. Number three, to educate potential buyers about the benefits of EVs as compared to the ICE and hybrid cars. Number four, to counter the propaganda of big oil and their minions. And finally, number five, to provide scientific evidence that proves the benefits of EV ownership. The electric car revolution is well underway. Despite the negativity of the big oil misinformation, the United States of America has passed a critical threshold in embracing electric vehicles. The news media, who accepts billions of dollars in advertising revenue from big oil, is beholden to their money. They cannot bite the hand that feeds them. Therefore, they continually spread fear, uncertainty, and doubt about electric cars. Most recently, another surge in how dangerous electric cars can be when they catch fire. We're going to use this surge in misinformation to help educate everyone. First, about the facts, and secondly, about how to recognize the misinformation that is being spread by our news media. As a reminder, take a look at this infographic to better help you understand how EVs are safer compared to other types of cars, specifically the hybrid and ICE vehicle. Then ask yourself the question, if you need a parachute to escape a crashing plane, would you choose parachute A, B, or C? If you chose A, then you're smart, and A is the battery electric vehicle. The chance of fire is 0.025%. For a hybrid, it is 3.475%, and the ICE vehicle is 1.53%. So only 25 out of 100,000 battery electric vehicles will ever catch fire, and they do not explode like hybrids and ICE vehicles. But some, not all, will burn because they reach thermal runaway, a condition where the battery creates its own oxygen. The only thing that can stop thermal runaway is to reduce the temperature below the threshold where it occurs. The same thing can happen to a hybrid because it has batteries. But when the batteries in a hybrid reach thermal runaway and the fire meets gasoline, it violently explodes. An ICE car can also explode, but since the fire is easier to put out, the rate of explosions is much less than it is with a hybrid. Now let's use this moment as a point for education. You see, the facts are there are three classifications of vehicles, but the media often classifies the plug-in hybrid electric vehicle and the hybrid as electric cars, especially for the plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. And this is patently wrong. They are their own classification, being neither pure electric or pure internal combustion engine. They are in a separate category. So the next time someone classifies a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle as an electric, ask yourself the simple question: should they be included with ICE cars because they use gasoline? The internal combustion engine runs strictly on a combustible fuel. These are the most common types of vehicles on the road. Hybrids include the pure hybrid, which is an electric motor assist to an internal combustion engine, and more recently the plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. Battery electric vehicles run purely on electricity. There are no combustible fuels in the car whatsoever. There's another misinformed YouTuber who starts off one of his most recent videos with the inflammatory line, pun intended, that says electric vehicles are exploding worldwide. And this YouTuber happens to be in the firefighting industry, which makes it all the more absurd. This mustachioed bald clown's emotionally charged statement is 100% provably wrong. It's 100% irresponsible, and it's most likely encouraged by compensation from Big Oil. In his video, he goes on to show a Jeep Wrangler, which is a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, that explodes, and the unattached roof of the Jeep Wrangler lifts in the air and comes down with a bang. He erroneously or possibly deliberately classifies the Wrangler as an electric vehicle. Right out of the gate, he is 100% provably wrong. It is a plug-in hybrid, and it contains an internal combustion engine car. Additionally, the thermal runaway of the battery met the explosive contents of the petroleum-based fuel, and voila, kaboom. The lithium-ion battery will explode, but since each of the cells or packs are substantially small, they do not possess the power, even in large groups, to blow a Jeep roof into the air 50 or 100 feet. That was gasoline, plain and simple. As someone who works in the firefighter industry, he should have known both of these simple and easy to understand facts, but he did not. This comical bad actor also has in the description below that particular video, and I quote, "Discover the alarming truth about flammable gas release during battery failure. There have been too many firefighter close calls recently involving electric vehicles. Are these incidents a wake-up call for the automotive industry?" Close quote. Everything about his ridiculously emotional video is blown out of proportion. There's enough natural bovine excrement in this one video to fertilize every government building in Washington, D.C., with a mountain the size of Manhattan left over. For him, or anyone else for that matter, to point at the Jeep Wrangler fire and blame the explosion on the electric car is patently absurd, and anyone who buys that garbage is jumping right into the deep end of the stupid pool with him and hundreds of other YouTubers who push the same garbage day after day. Sorry, that wasn't too gentle, but I had to say it. And is quite frightening how this type of information is allowed to continue in view of the absolute science that refutes everything they assert in these ridiculous diatribes. There was even a CNN story about lithium-ion batteries catching fire recently, and I'll provide a link to that in the comments below as well. So now let's have a little bit of a teaching moment. Back to the original premise of this video and the facts about vehicle fires. When someone makes a comment like, "Electric vehicles are exploding worldwide," they are doing so to sensationalize their position. I'm going to use this topic as a way to help all of us sit down and analyze the oceans of information that are flooding the social media space with fear, uncertainty, and doubt, asserted conclusions, and outright lies. Let's go through this one topic very carefully. The first indicator that everything in this video should be suspect is his opening remark. To be fair, when asked if EVs are exploding worldwide, the answer is yes, they are. But hybrids are burning and exploding 139 times more often, and ICE vehicles are burning and exploding 61 times more often. So, the factual headline should be, hybrid and ICE vehicles are exploding worldwide at a rate up to 139 times more often than electric vehicles. Full stop. How does one recognize the sensationalized lies that are flooding the social media sphere? Back to the beginning of this video. How do you spot the false information? There are several ways you can spot fake information about any number of subjects, and here are just a few options. Number 1, the information is unverifiable or easily disproven, like the EV fire issue. Number 2, the information comes from non-experts. The oil industry does not have expertise in the electric vehicle industry. Number 3, the information is not found on any statistical or governmental website like NHTSA or the NTSB. Number 4, the information comes directly from a fake website like The Onion. Number 5, the information appeals to the emotions instead of stating facts, like the opening words of the example video. Here are a few other things you can look for. Clickbait titles with exaggerated headlines. Propaganda that spreads information or ideas that is intended to harm an institution or a group of people, in this case, electric vehicles and electric vehicle owners. Importer content, something that impersonates actual news with made-up stories to deceive the readers and viewers, like this story was. Bias or slanted news that confirms the reader's or viewer's own biases or beliefs. Satire, like The Onion or the Babylon Bee. State-sponsored news from news organizations that operate under the control of a government, like Al Jazeera or CGTN or Global Times or any of those. And finally, the misleading headlines. We've already discussed this, and I'll get into it more later. There are things that users of social media companies, artificial intelligence, hackers, and trolls do to exacerbate this problem. That includes users continually sharing false information on social media. Number 2, recommendation engines on various information websites. Number 3, engagement metrics from social media and search engines. Number 4, artificial intelligence, which is becoming a bigger problem every day. Hackers, yes, hackers can cause the information to spread faster. And finally, number 6, trolls, those pieces of human flotsam that clog the comments with nonsense. I get those every single time I upload a video. You may ask yourself, what can I do about this? Well, here are a few ways to protect yourself and help you learn to spot the nonsense easier. Number 1, find reliable sources. If you cannot find scientific or statistical information from the reliable sources, then you should probably do a little research on your own. Number 2, check the sources of the information. Number 3, do not trust the big well-known fact-check organizations that permeate the internet and are touted by big media. These sources are often controlled by extremists on both ends of the political spectrum, but especially the liberal side. Most of the top-shelf fact-checkers are headed and funded by liberal think tanks and organizations that do not have truth as their primary objective, and they're often funded by anti-American countries and non-U.S. citizens from around the world, so they don't care about us here. Number 4, read beyond the headline. Number 5, develop a critical mindset. This is something that I have taken on in the past year substantially. Number 6, watch for and identify the sponsors of the content, especially on YouTube. See who's sponsoring the video you're watching. And number 7, just ignore the naysayers. They're nothing but noise, and they have no place in our society. So, my friends, the best thing you can do is to trust your initial gut reaction when it comes to sensational headlines like electric cars are exploding worldwide. The first thing that came to my mind is this clown has not bothered to check the facts and figures about car fires, let alone EV car fires. He just jumped off into the deep end of the pool without wearing his water wings. It's a good thing I was standing there to throw the Mate West to everyone who was drowning in the ocean of spin that he was releasing into the YouTube sphere. I'm not going to beat this horse too much longer. It's been dead for quite some time. But as the ICE industry begins to wane in the full view of the rising EV industry, you can expect those who are threatened to come out in force with every piece of ammunition they can find. Not just FUD, not just misinformation, not just asserted conclusions either. They're going to fire ICBM lies into every corner of the automotive sector. Just watch what happens in 2024. Things are going to change substantially in 2024. And let me explain what I mean. In 2022, there were 809,700 EVs sold in the United States. There were only 13.4 million vehicles sold in 2022. This means that 6% of the sales in 2022 were electric vehicles in the United States. It was much higher overseas. In 2023, it is forecast that the total sales of all vehicles will be about 14.1 million, and of that 14.1 million, 1.4 million will be EVs. This means that about 10% of all new car sales in 2023 will be electric vehicles. These numbers show that EV sales will have increased from 2022 to 2023 by 42%, while the sales of ICE vehicles will have increased by less than 1%. All the new growth in car sales has been in the electric vehicle sector, and by the end of 2024, it is expected that almost 20% of the new cars sold in the United States will be electric. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that 3.2 million EVs will sell in the United States in 2024. Come back in 2025 to see if I was right. The sales of ICE vehicles will also decrease year over year starting in 2025. I do not expect ICE vehicles to sell more than they did this year. Again, come back here and check my numbers by 2026, and you will see that ICE vehicles sales are decreasing while EV sales are increasing. You heard it here first. I will call 2024 the beginning of the end of the ICE age in the automotive industry. As more EV models become available, more people will buy them than ever before. And as the sales of ICE automobiles wanes, you can expect some very serious death throes from those industries most affected by decreasing usage of carbon-based fuels. Much like the horse and buggy industry went into the annals of history, so too will the carbon-based fuel suppliers of the 20th century. I hope you find some of this information useful. I hope that you will use this material to develop a more critical mindset when it comes to the proliferation of anti-EV information. Watch the tipping point in 2024 as ICE vehicles sales plummet and the start of their natural decline. Watch for the spigot of disinformation and lies to be fully opened as Big Oil finally realizes their ultimate demise is at hand. And as for those energy companies that refuse to move into the renewables, if you own their stock, you might want to consider moving your investments into something a little more diversified. If you like this channel, please subscribe. If you like the video, share it, comment on it, give it a thumbs up. Remember to treat everyone with kindness, put a smile on your face, help someone today, and pay it forward when someone does the same for you. Thanks for stopping by, and I will see you again real soon, or somewhere along the route from point A to point B. Take it easy, everybody.